DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. Welcome. Today we're talking about school. Is college even necessary these days? Is college necessary or is it not necessary? I'm here to argue both sides of it. I'm going to give you a couple points for why, or any type of school. It don't necessarily have to be college, but we'll just say college because that's the one that most of the time people are saying, should I go to school or not? They're talking about college, not like middle school. Most people agree that you're going to do that one anyway. Is it worth it? Is it not? Is it useful? Is it not? I'm going to tell you some reasons why it is useful, some things that I got from school that I think are very valuable, and some things that I experienced in school. In school, I'm referring to college, university, that weren't very valuable, not really worth the investment, whether that's time, money, energy, attention, focus. So let's get right into why school is valuable. I'm going to tell you, again, why it is and then why it isn't. Number one, in school, you learn something that's very important that you're going to need for the rest of your life. You learn how to follow instructions and respect authority. People who are in charge, whether that be a boss or, of course, your parents at home, whether you're in any situation where you are subordinate to another person, which could be many situations in life. It doesn't have to be like a long-term thing, but there will be times even temporarily where you got to kind of follow somebody else's lead. And as they say, you got to be a good follower to be a good leader. You got to be a good soldier to be a good general. So school definitely teaches you how to follow somebody else's lead, to respect somebody else's authority, and put together even a schedule to structure your day, to make sure you make out time to do this thing, do that thing. Even if the schedule is given to you, the structure is given to you, you learn how to follow that structure. Because just because somebody makes a structure for you doesn't mean you're going to follow it. And all you who are not in school, if you ever had somebody try to teach you, you ever took an online course or a work home course or a workbook or something that says do this, this, and this, and then you didn't do it, that's proof right there that just because the structure exists doesn't mean you're going to follow it. But in school, you are kind of forced to follow a structure, which has value because it teaches you, in some ways, it teaches you discipline. So that's one way that school is valuable. The second way that school is valuable is, for me, the most valuable thing anyone could get from going to university, which is social interaction, relationships, meeting people, knowing people, having people know you, just building those relationships, which could be long-term relationships. Those people could be future business partners, they could be friends, they could be your friends in life. You know, some of my closest friends these days are people who I met in school. Some people I do business with are people who I met in school. So school, social interaction is a very valuable thing that you get from going to school. So I think that's something that you can't get anywhere else in the way that school is set up. Because at a school, especially if you're living somewhere on campus or right off campus, you got all these people who are around the same age and have some of the same interests, all congregated in this small space all at the exact same time. Even the biggest campus in the world, the space is small relative to the rest of the world. If you're in the business world, there are people obviously who are in that same thing, but they're all scattered about in different places. And the only time you can get with them is maybe if there's a conference or something like that, but the conference doesn't last forever. School goes for the whole year, maybe 4 straight years. At a conference, I ain't never seen a 4-year conference, maybe 4 days, but not 4 years. So the social interaction where you learn how to make connections and you learn people skills. Hopefully you learn people skills. Number 3 benefit that you get from going to school is that you learn how to be a semi-adult in a semi-independent environment. And I think that's a really valuable skill for most adolescents, people who are coming from being a child and transitioning into being an adult. I think a lot of people need that transition period of college. I know I definitely needed it. I wasn't ready to just be a full-blown adult 100% on my own and responsible for myself straight from high school, living in my parents' house and going and just being a full-blown adult. I don't know if I would have succeeded in that. I probably would have figured it out because I wouldn't have had a choice, but I like that I had that kind of transition period where I'm kind of independent because I'm not near my parents, I'm not seeing them or talking to them every day and they're not watching my every movement. But at the same time, if I needed something, I could still reach back to that. I still had that kind of safety net behind me. And I think a lot of students, when they go to school, they have a similar situation. I think that's a valuable period for people to learn how to be an adult, how to be on your own, and how to do some things that otherwise your parents would have been doing for you, like doing your laundry or making your schedule or making sure you go to bed at the right time, waking up at a certain time. Some of you may have different age periods where you start doing that on your own, but in school you definitely had to do it because nobody's going to make you do it. Nobody's going to be around you to do it. So those are the things that I say are general universal benefits that you get from going to school, college, university. Now let me tell you some drawbacks to school, because I personally am a person who believes that any situation that's going on, any opinion out there, If you have an opinion on one thing, you should be able to argue both sides of it. Even if you don't completely agree with one side, you should be able to argue both sides, because if you're going to debate another person on their opinion and y'all have different opinions, you better know what they're going to argue, because if you don't, then they could use that against you. The fact that you just don't know what they're going to say, you haven't considered their points, you can consider another person's point of view. It can expand your view, period, even if you still don't change your mind. Number one, sometimes in college the teachings can be obsolete. Now, I went to college from 2000 to 2004, so I don't know what they're doing at universities these days. I don't teach at a school. My sister's a professor at a school, but back then we had textbooks. I don't know if y'all still got textbooks, but we had textbooks. We had to buy actual physical books, and you got to think about printing up a book that size. A book that's that thick, how long does it take to actually write the book, and then how long does it take to actually print the book and get it out to where people can buy it? That could take a year for them to actually do that. And by the time, from the time the person starts writing it to the time it actually gets into the hands of a student, some of that information is not even current anymore. Some of that information isn't even relevant. It can be completely obsolete, the stuff that's in that book. And on top of that, the fact that they're just robbing students. These publishing companies are robbing students with the way the textbooks work. You pay $65 for a textbook. At the end of the semester, you get what? $15 back for the book, and nothing's wrong with the book. That's robbery. They're straight robbing students of these books. And then some professors are even worse. They force you. They say you must get the textbook. You can't get the digital version of the book. You have to get this textbook, and usually the only place to get it is a school store where they rob you at that price. And I know there are some apps and applications and software out there where you can get better prices and get books on the cheap and stuff like that. But back then, probably even still now, they're still robbing a percentage of students on the textbooks themselves. First of all, the information is outdated, and second of all, they're robbing you just by making you buy a textbook that's probably doesn't even have 100% full relevant information. Number two, sometimes the professors are teaching a subject in which they have very little real world experience. This is something that I saw happen often too in school, is that I had a professor who was teaching, you got a business professor, right? You got a professor who's teaching business, but the professor doesn't run a business, all right? Their full-time job is working at a school. How are you going to teach business when you are an employee? It doesn't even make sense, right? That didn't make sense to me. I had one class, I remember I had a dude his name was Conrad, and he was teaching like I forget what the title of the class was, but he was teaching entrepreneurship type stuff, and he was an entrepreneur. Like, he actually ran his business, he only taught classes 2 days a week. But the rest of my professors, they were full-time professors. They worked at the school as a full-time job, but they were teaching business classes. I had a guy teaching business law. I think he might have been a lawyer. But other than that, the rest of them were full-time teachers, but they were teaching these subjects that had nothing to do with being a teacher. Now, if I wanted to learn to be a professor, I'll take their classes, but I want to learn how to do the thing from somebody who's actually doing the thing. Now, I don't know what colleges can do about that, and I know that I'm not speaking for every college. I know there are colleges out there where the professors are actually doing that thing, and maybe they've changed the structure up at different schools. There's so many colleges out there, so it's different everywhere. But that's what my experience was. That there were many professors teaching things that they didn't even actually do, and professors teaching stuff that I didn't care about, like calculus. I took calculus in college. I took in regular school, we had music class, history class. There's a bunch of things that I don't remember anything from, and I didn't need the information. I didn't need to go look it up. Like, damn, I wish I would have remembered that from school. Didn't happen. So there's a lot of irrelevant information being taught, and we are forced to have to learn it because we have to take certain classes and stuff. So that's another garbage element of the school system. And this one usually applies to the United States. So I don't know what it's like outside of the USA, but in the USA, that's a garbage part of the school system. Number three, the cost is not always worth the return. If any of you have finished college, maybe you have some student loans that you got to pay back, and then you look at how much you owe in loans versus how much you're going to make at your first job. You might not even make back that same amount of money at your first 4 years of working that you have to pay for the 4 years that you went to school, or whatever number of years it was. Or you may end up completely breaking even. So let's say you go to school for 4 years, you acquire, let's say, $100,000 in student loan debt. Then with interest, that goes up. And then you get a job and you're making X number of dollars. After you pay taxes, you talk about what you're actually taking home. You might not even make back the amount that you still owe on those loans in your first 4 years working. So by the time you finish 4 years working, you're, let's say, 26 years old. You are at the exact same place financially that you were at when you were 18, because you finally paid everything off and broke even. What did you actually gain from school? Yes, you gained the relationships, You learn these structuring things. You learn to respect authority. Maybe you got some information. Maybe it helped you to better be prepared for your career. But financially, it didn't help you. And we do got to talk about, I mean, finance is something you got to consider when you're looking at colleges, especially in America, because the price keeps going up while the value of the degree is going down. The value of the degree is going down. A lot of places where you go get a job, they're not asking you, they may say you need to have a degree, but it doesn't matter what the degree is, what your grade point average was. There are some places where it does, but there are a lot of places that it doesn't. Some places don't even care if you got a degree or not. They just want to know, can you do the work? Can you produce something that's going to help us make money? So these are the things that, and again, there are nuances to all of this. There are exceptions to this. Some of you may have some situations where going to school helps you perfectly for your career, like such as being an engineer or being a doctor or a lawyer. Maybe you needed to go to a certain school and get a certain grade point average for that. But there are a lot of places where it doesn't matter at all. So overall, this is how I feel about the collegiate system in America right now. What I would suggest, I'll just throw this out. If you want to be an entrepreneur, I would say go straight into your entrepreneurship. Take online classes. Find a place where you can connect with other people, whether that's some kind of incubator or some kind of environment where there are other people around so you can get that social interaction. It's just an option. I'm actually not even going to say that every entrepreneur should do that, because I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I still also wanted to go to college because I wanted to get better at basketball. But these are my pros and cons of if college is even necessary these days. Now, if things change with the structure of college in America, maybe I'll make another video, maybe not. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.